Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is October the 15th, 2023, and in about half an hour, we have ALCS kickoff, which right across the border here is Houston and the Rangers. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're not in Mexico, so it's not across the border. But
Cross the line, the state line. You knew what
I
I meant.
thought my thoughts are I'm very glad Max Scherzer's healthy and on the roster. That's great. Two, love it for the for Mets fans that if you would have told them that Verlander and Scherzer were in the CS this year, sure they would have been excited. Not quite the way they thought it was going to happen, but still I love
No,
that. And two, I a lot of superstars on that in that series. I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to be a really good series, or Houston's just going to destroy them. So we'll see what happens.
I really honestly thought you were going to say it's going to go one of two ways: either the Rangers win or Houston wins.
That's also true.
Like right where I sit right now here in New Orleans, obviously huge Astros fan base. One, Houston, the closest city with an MLB team, but also two, New Orleans for years had the New Orleans Zephyrs, which was the AAA minor league team for the Astros. So big Astros fan base here. As you can see, I'm on the Rangers bandwagon. I have been all year. I will continue that. I am really excited for Marcus Semien. I am really excited for Corey Seager to get to do this in Texas. That's why those guys went there. And I am super
Well,
jacked for Adolis
that and a
Garcia.
couple of dollars.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I discount the money because like they're all getting paid. So, but I'm also very jacked for Adolis Garcia. Like that,
Yeah.
I'm super pumped for him. I think it's going to be. I honestly think it's going to go seven. I really truly believe that. I could be wrong. That could be one big fugazi. I
Uh,
just think, man, these two teams do not really love each other. I mean, obviously you've got
no.
the whole Texas fan base. They've never played each other in a playoff series like this. I'm excited for it, to be honest with you. There is
Yeah.
something to be said about not having a rooting interest in the playoffs.
Mhm. I think it's going to be a rematch of the World Series last year.
Okay, I think a lot of people think that. Let's get to that, and then we'll get into Cardinals because obviously that's what we focus on the most. But right now, not a ton to talk about. There's a few things we do want to
There's some
talk about,
stuff.
and we want to get to that here soon. But might as well go ahead and get this CS out. I'm excited to see what Scherzer can do. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what Verlander can do. I think
Mhm.
the big key that Houston has, besides experience, and Dusty Baker. Like now, to be fair,
Right.
Bruce Bochy is in the other one, so
Yep.
you've got two
Guy doesn't lose in the
massive,
postseason.
right, hugely experienced postseason managers. That's always, I think, important. But Houston's bullpen dramatically better than
It's
Texas,
not even
even though
close.
Texas bullpen was right. Agreed, but Texas bullpen has been very good in the playoffs.
We haven't seen it get tested yet.
That's valid, but they still have been good.
Also, the thing that worries me, Eovaldi's a great postseason pitcher. Houston destroys him, all of them.
Yeah. Is
Jordan
he pit?
Alvarez is
He's
Jordan
pitching tonight,
Alvarez.
right?
No, Jordan Montgomery's pitching tonight.
Montgomery
Um,
tonight. Okay.
Jordan Alvarez 8 for 11 with four doubles and a homer and a 2,000 OPS against Eovaldi in his career, including the postseason.
Yeah.
That doesn't bode well.
Well, but if you want to conversely, Verlander was good last round, but
Mhm.
Framber hasn't been great.
He hasn't.
Um, who am I missing? What's the? I was
Yeah,
going to say
Urquidy and
Garcia.
Javier were both really good.
Yeah, they were good. I think this is a flip them. Like
I
honestly,
don't. I think it's easily an edge to the Astros if you just look. If you just one, you got the track record of Houston. Two, Houston has four legit starters, like legit starters that can give you starter innings. I don't know what Max Scherzer is going to do. No one really knows what the plan is
good
for
point.
him. So I don't know if he's Max Scherzer, which is kind of unfair to expect, but he is Max Scherzer, so he could do that. Then obviously that's a massive boost for him. But if they believed he could be that, he'd be starting tonight. So I don't think that's the case. And Framber, yeah, but he doesn't get blown up very much. Like even his bad starts, like okay, 5 innings, 4 runs. It's not great, but the Astros can make that up. The thing that the Rangers have to hit Houston's starters. They have to
Yes.
jump on Verlander. They have to jump on Framber. And the thing that worries me about Texas is they were given so many free passes by the Orioles, so many walks. Houston's not going to do that. You have to beat Houston. They're not going to beat themselves. Like you have to play perfect baseball to beat the Houston Astros in a 7-game series. And I don't know if the Rangers are capable of doing that, but we'll see.
And obviously the home field advantage for Houston is big as well.
Right.
Flipping it to the NL side, I said it when we were on here last week. I picked the Phillies to beat the Braves. I'm no Nostradamus. I think I was wrong on many of the others here. Well, my predictions were, what was it? I don't even remember. Don't worry about what it was. Either way, pick the Phillies to win. There's something about that team. Look, you know, you always hear the it factor or the missing piece for a lot of teams that prevents them from winning. What I will say is the Phillies have the it factor. If you saw it because you told me about it. You saw Bryce Harper on McAfee. I went back and watched it. Like, he talked about how it's just the guys absolutely love each other. And I know everybody can say, well, you don't have to like each other to work with each other. I agree. There were teammates I didn't always love, and I'm sure you had teammates you played with you didn't love. But when you do love each other, it does mean something different, and you know that as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I just feel like that whole team and up and down that lineup, man, whether it's Casty or it's obviously Bryce or it's Bryson Stott or it's Alec Boehm, who I mean, that poor kid had big opportunities there in that one game. He was so frustrated with himself. You could just see he's like beside himself. They're competitors up and down. Obviously, Trey Turner, JT. I mean, and then you get to that.
You give the
pitching
Diamondbacks
staff,
a chance.
no, I do not. I think the Phillies win in 5.
I hope it goes longer than that because I'm tired of off days. I'm tired of quick series that give you 3 days off without baseball. It's not good for the sport at all. But they have no chance. Like, I give them I legitimately give them a 0% chance.
You literally just seal the Diamondbacks Rangers World Series.
That'd be great.
MLB would hate.
I would love that. I love it. I love.
Same.
Here's my thing. Like, I think we saw this with the Orioles. When you have a young team, like, let's go back to the Cubs team, the Astros, right? When they were building up, they never win in their first go around. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. Experience in the postseason matters. Those young teams that are building up and building into something, they don't win in the first year. That's like, you got to gain some experience. And I think the Diamondbacks are good, but I don't think they've been tested yet.
I'm going to say this, and I should have said this, I guess, or maybe I did say this on the last podcast. I guess I should go back and watch it. I think the Phillies are winning the World Series. I truly, truly believe that. You've got Wheeler and Nola, and I know Nola struggled in the World Series last year, but those two guys have been lights out. Obviously, Ranger Suarez has found something there. Their bullpen has been incredible. It's that lineup that there is never quit. And I will say it again on here, and I said it to you. We have to go to Citizens Bank Park to see a game. That looks like the most fun baseball environment ever. And we're from St. Louis, where the Cardinals environment is incredible as well. But that's another level.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. The only team that can beat them is the Astros. So if the Rangers win, they're losing, and the Diamondbacks are just going to lose. Like, that's just going to happen. Right. So the Astros, though, like, no one's shown me they can beat this iteration of the Astros.
I think that's a great point that a lot of people aren't talking about until you beat the champ. I mean, obviously the Dodgers.
What?
No, that's right. Who did the Dodgers beat in the World Series that year?
That was the Rays. But this iteration of the Dodgers, with Verlander healthy, with Framber becoming the pitcher he's become, with Javier now being the pitcher he is, he's just a solid 4 to have as an option. But then this bullpen with Abreu and Montero and Presley at the end. Ooh. Yeah, like, and then you go, and now Jordan's just a star of stars. Jeremy Payne, I don't know if being a clutch fielder is a thing. But if it is, Jeremy Payne is that, because the guy makes big plays every time he has a chance to change a game. No one has shown that they can beat this iteration of the Houston Astros. And until they do that, I don't know if they can.
Was iteration your word of the day?
No, I just wanted to repeat it.
Yeah, you've said it quite a bit. I like it. It's a good word.
Twice.
I really want to see, I think five times.
It was 2.
I want to see that Phillies. I'm picking the Rangers, and I would love to see that, but I kind of want to see a rematch. I think that would be pretty awesome.
I get
the
Rangers don't have an advantage in anything in the series.
I'm going to stick to Phillies in 5. I'm going to say Rangers in 7. So that's what
I just like. What are the Rangers better at than the Astros?
I don't know.
That's just nothing. That's the answer. Like, if we're being honest,
I like Montgomery. I like Eovaldi, and if Scherzer,
I like Justin Verlander.
Scherzer, I get it. I'm just saying. I think their starting pitching slept on. I think they're better than people think. I think that they get clutch hitting. We've seen obviously the kid. Oh my God, why can't I think of his name? I sent you the message that said it's his coming out
Evan
party.
Carter?
Evan Carter. Good Lord, had a brain fart there. I mean, what at bats that kid takes. I mean,
Yeah, but if you want to talk about clutch hitting, who's the clutchest hitting team of all time? Maybe
I'm not.
the Houston
Literally every stat is in your corner. I just have this feeling that Texas led the division most of the year, had the drop off, had to fight at the end, and it really just feels like they might have found something again. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean it's baseball.
I'm
not saying they don't have a chance. I think they do. Because that's the trickiest team in baseball, Texas Rangers. If they are on a hot streak, they're really hard to beat.
So are the Phillies.
Right, yeah. But I think the Phillies are more so they're consistently good when they have a healthy Bryce Harper, which he's fully healthy again, and Trey Turner not slumping in a new team. So but I don't think you can give the advantage to the Rangers in anything, but it's baseball. That doesn't mean anything.
Agreed. Last thing before we get to the Cardinals, just one thing, because I want to get your take on this, because this is widely discussed, and I think it's much ado about nothing, but I also believe that you feel differently than I do. The buys in baseball, all right? We saw 3 of the 4 top seeds gone, not in the CS, right? Only the Houston Astros have found the formula the last 2 years to be able to survive and get in. What are your thoughts? What do you think about the buys? Do you think, again, we go back to it's baseball, like you have to play better? But what are your thoughts? And then I'll give you mine, and then we'll move on to the Cardinals.
I think it's weak to use it as an excuse. Honestly, I do, because I think you look at the teams that had buys and lost in the DS, which was 3 of the teams for the second consecutive year. That Astros were the only ones that figured it out.
Correct.
But Braves, I mean, they just ran to a buzzsaw. Honestly, like they ran to a team that looked like they were better than them, but also the Braves pitching just was not very good. So that's and the Dodgers just weren't that good of a team. They figured out how to win in the regular season, but I'm sorry, that lineup is garbage after Mookie and Freddie. And you had Lance Lynn pitching a 3rd game of your series with Clayton Kershaw getting 1 out. Like that's not on the bye at all. And then the Orioles, young team, some of their players didn't look ready. They didn't look ready for the moment.
Right.
They will be in the future. They just weren't yet. And then who was the other team that lost? The Astros won. So there are reasons for it, but I've always said I don't think buys are a good idea in baseball. They're just not. When guys are hot going into the All-Star break, they're angry that's the time they chose to get hot. For a reason, your timing gets thrown off. So there is a conversation. You need a bigger sample size in 2 years to see what happens with that. But I do think if let's say this happens 3 more years where 3 of the teams are getting bounced in the first round, then at that point you might want to consider maybe we go to a 1-game playoff for those other 4 series. And that way
I hate that.
It's 3 days off. I don't think there's a good way to do it. And honestly, I wouldn't change it as of now. And I do think it's a massive advantage to 1, be at home, and 2, be able to line up your pitchers however you want. That's a big advantage. But I also do think hitting in baseball is hard enough when you're seeing pitching every day. It's even harder when you get 5 days off.
What I will say is I think the only options to that are to go back to a 1-game playoff like you brought up. I do not want to see that ever again. I hate that. That was one of the worst decisions of all time, in my opinion. Or you expand and you go to 8 teams. Like that's your other option. And every team plays the first round as a 3-game series. Here is the best option I've heard. And John Smoltz said it, and I don't know if you happen to hear it, but in my opinion, this was the best observation and option of all, is that you keep the 3-game series Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you start the division round Friday instead of giving those wild card teams who won, all of them won in 2 games. They had 3 days to set up their rotation. There was now no longer an advantage for those other teams. I loved what he said. Even if you went in 2, you still only have 1 night, and you're still going to go with your at best your 3rd pitcher at best. I thought I love that. And let's start at Friday night to go Friday, Saturday right off the bat. Sunday's
it's
NFL
still 4 days off.
Huh?
It's not that big of a difference. That's just 1 less day for the other team. So
no. What I'm saying is this: look, all the teams in the wild card won in 2 games, right? So they won by Wednesday. They were done. They didn't play again until Sunday, so they had 3
Saturday.
extra. Okay, whatever it was, 2 extra. So whoever pitched on Tuesday was pitching game 2.
So I like the idea, but I think if you really want to make it an advantage, you go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you say okay, and then you play on Thursday.
Okay, that's fine too. I'm okay with that as
because
well.
that's only 3 days off for the team that's
Yes.
and you go through that throughout the season. You'll have the All-Star break and stuff, so you're not unaccustomed to days off like that. But also, that's a really big disadvantage for the team that wins because they're taking 2 flights and they're gonna get tired. I like that because I do think if you're gonna have buys in a sport, you have to make it a massive advantage, or else you're gonna disincentivize people for trying to go after it.
I just don't think that Major League Baseball will play the first playoff game after the last, and they'll never do it on Monday because if you were to need Monday, you know what I mean, for a makeup game or for anything else, they'll never do that. So Tuesday's the earliest you're ever going to start it. And with travel, also, like if you're that third team, like the Cardinals were last year, right? If you're that third team, they're going to give you a day off like that. I think Tuesday's the earliest you'll ever see that started. No need to ever start it on Monday, but go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Let's start the DS on Friday. I think that's
also,
a great suggestion.
I don't understand why there's been no playoff baseball on any Fridays. It's really bad.
Yeah, weird. It's a weird alignment.
There hasn't been a Friday playoff baseball game yet.
Not
that's
one.
That's a pride. That I mean, the fact that not one, and the fact that Saturday and Sunday are football days. So Friday's the day you should want it.
Yeah, wild.
So stupid.
Okay,
stupid.
So let's get to the Cardinals. Who you're picking Astros and Phillies, correct?
I am, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the big news, and then we can go from there. The big news this week, and I don't know if it's actual news or what it is, but is that there's something that Yadier Molina has been either contacted or there's internal discussions.
Mutual interest.
Mutual interest. There you go. Great word. Great iteration of the words. Of the thing there. Either way. Between them to have Yadi come back. Go.
He should be the bench coach for the St. Louis Cardinals if he wants to be.
So fire Joe McEwing.
I don't even know if he's on more than the 1-year deal. I don't know if he's even free, but yeah. If it's for Yadi, yeah. I'm nothing against Joe McEwing, but he definitely didn't help. So if you can get Yadi in, there's a lot of layers to this. One, if they do this, Ollie, that's just proving Ollie wants to win. Because the day Yadier Molina is the bench coach for the St. Louis Cardinals is the day everyone wants Yadier Molina to be the manager for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Boom.
So if you're Yadi, if you're Ollie and you do that, you're hiring a replacement and you kind of know it, right? The Cardinals aren't going to let Yadi go manage somewhere else. That just won't happen. So that's an interesting part of it. But my other thing is, I don't know if Yadi wants to do it. So let's just operate under the assumption that Yadi does want to do it. For now, if he does, that helps Wilson Contreras out a lot. That helps having his voice in the clubhouse, and also it's just a calming presence that he brings. Because let's be honest, we were kind of paying him to be the bench coach the last couple of years of his career because he was not the player he was. Not to say he was awful, he wasn't, but he was for 1 year. But I think there's a lot of good things to it, but there's also a part of me that thinks, how long are you going to rely on Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, and Adam Wainwright to fix your problems? That's my other thought on this. Like when are you can't have Yadi going in there and being a leader again in terms of he's now the vocal leader just as a coach this time. No, a player needs to be that. One of your players needs to be that. But they're going to hire, they said they're hiring a catching consultant or going to look for one.
Yes.
He's not going to be a catching consultant. He's Yadier Molina. He will not do that. If he's coming out, it's going to be for a job that is worthwhile for him. But that could knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, and you could have your bench coach and he's your catching consultant, kind of like what they were doing with Matt Holliday, because he was going to be a hitting consultant as well as a bench coach when he got hired. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on it, but none of them are cohesive. So I don't know. What do you think?
That's why we're here. We're to get your thoughts, bro.
I gave all of them, but none of them. But I gave all of them. None of them really fit together.
My thoughts are that if you're hiring Yadi to be the bench coach, I'm on board that you're hiring the next St. Louis Cardinals manager. That's where I'm at.
Likely.
I also believe, I honestly believe that you could bring him in as a consultant, kind of like what Willie does as the outfield coach. You could bring in a catching coach. You could do that.
No, I don't think so, Dan.
I understand. Your point is valid. I'm saying, though, you could do that and keep Joe there. Blaming Joe McEwing for this year is the most laughable thing I've ever. I didn't say you did. I'm just saying if that's the guy we're replacing after everything that happened this year,
they didn't want him in the first place, Dan. It's an easy replacement. He was not choice 1. I don't know if he was choice 2, 3, or 4 either. He was the guy that was there because he was available.
Either way,
Let's
I
call
think
it what
that's
it is.
hilarious.
Like, that's nothing against him.
I
That's just what it
I
is.
also am intrigued to see, does Yadi want 162 games as bench coach? That's also got to come into play. That obviously, just because there's mutual interest doesn't mean that he wants to be here 162 games. We've seen Chris Carpenter come in and help. We've seen Jim Edmonds help at times during spring training. Therefore, I think, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong here, when Willie started, he wasn't necessarily a full-time guy. He was only there at spring and then part-time. So I don't know with his basketball team, he has young kids. I mean, who are now I say young, they're teens, probably close to that, right? So I don't know if he even wants that. I just don't know that answer. And I'm not saying he doesn't or he does. I just don't know. It's hilarious to me, sort of, that, like you brought up, here we go. Now we're bringing back Yadi, so we can have that great moment on opening day when Yadi comes out. Now
I don't know if that'd be the reason, because
it's announced.
He would provide a lot of he'd be a great bench coach, I think. Like, genuinely, I think he'd be amazing.
Yes.
Like, I almost think that'd be a perfect role for him. I don't know how great of a manager he'd be, at least yet, because he doesn't know the analytical side of the game in terms of how to implement those things. That's a difficult thing to catch on to.
I have seen this floated out there, and obviously, when we're dealing with social media or the world as it is now, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. What do you think that's a pitching coach possibility there for Yadi? I mean, we've seen catchers be incredible pitching coaches.
I hope not.
Okay. All right.
Yadi's great. With Yadi's
not. You think Dusty's fine?
You need to have an analytical minded pitching coach. Every good organization does.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just throwing out what I've seen and read.
And so no, I don't agree. See that. No, because Dusty Blake's kind of trying to overhaul the whole system now, like Jeff Albert did. Do you think? Part of me thinks it's going to happen. Like, I kind of think, like, the press conference being held off, this coming out the week that happens. Like, what's a good reason to, like, what would be better for the Cardinals than to wait until they can announce that Yadier Molina is the bench coach, for them to get the heat off their back for the questions they're being asked? Because if you announce that Yadier Molina is the bench coach, no offense to any of the media members, the next 30 questions are about Yadier Molina being the bench coach.
Correct.
And that's what everyone's talking about. So part of me thinks it's a real possibility. I don't know. That would take a lot. And also, I do think there's a part of this where if that happens, Ollie Marmol should gain a lot of respect from the fans.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Truly means that he only cares about winning.
Correct.
Because this does help you win, I believe. I believe that Yadier Molina in that bench coach role will be more impactful than almost any bench coach in baseball, just because of what he brings. And just cachet-wise, people will listen to him, obviously. He can help hitters. He can help catchers. He can help pitchers. He can help everything. But it is hiring, like, a potential replacement at the very least.
Like, but here's the thing, very real possibility. Here's the thing. If I'm Ollie, I'm not, but if I am, you have to, like, the writing is on the wall, right? Next year could be, like, it's make or break, sort of, for the organization, honestly, for Mo, for Ollie, for a lot of people in that dugout. And if that's how it's going to be, then I want to surround myself with the best people I can, that's going to not just help me be successful, but the team and the guys in that dugout going to war with me every night. Should not have said war. Going in, with everything going on, did not mean that as an offensive thing. But with everything I want the best guys out there going out every night with me. So, I mean, that's the way to do it, right? You don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
here's the thing. Like, what's he have to lose? If they're bad,
that's what I'm saying.
If they're bad, he's not coming back. And if they're good, then that's his only chance anyway. So you might as well try it.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Also, I don't know how ready Yadi would be to be a manager. I don't know if I know he wants that eventually. I don't know if he wants that now. And honestly, if Ollie has a good year, even if Yadi's right by him the whole time, that's what John Mozeliak wants, because that's his third manager. Like, he's chosen. So I don't think they'd fire him even in that scenario anyway.
No, I agree.
I do think do you think it's going to happen? What percentage would you give it?
There's a lot. There is a light across the room going absolutely ape shit right now. I literally thought either A, we were under attack, B, I was having a seizure, or 3, your mom slipped mushrooms into my Pepsi.
A, B, 3.
Hold on. You keep this roll. That's going to give me.
Okay. Where were we at with this? Okay. I'll give my percentage. Can you keep listening to me and then come back ready for yours? Did you fix it?
I think so.
I think you did fix it. All right.
That thing came out of nowhere.
What
That was hilarious.
what would your what percentage chance would you give it of
85.
happening?
Look, here's one thing I
Hold
found.
on, hold on, hold on.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know. But here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I've found about with this organization, I did not fix it, evidently. When there's smoke, there's fire, and usually when there's fire, something is going to happen. And with it, when it's Yadi, I just don't think that gets floated out there, the mutual interest, unless that mutual interest is incredibly high
Mutual.
on both sides.
uh you gotta go fix that real quick and I'll say what I want to say. My percentage is gonna be probably like 50.5%. Barely over, like it's not gonna I can't give it 85. That's crazy to me.
That's fine.
I'll say 50%. I think there's a 50%. That was just high for me, I think. Because coming into this offseason, I would have never said that was even an option. But I do agree that this organization is very strategic with what gets out and how it gets out.
Yes.
And most of the time when it gets out, there's a chance. Like I told you last year, I thought Matt Holiday was going to be the bench coach. And he was hired to do that just because there was so many like little hints being dropped everywhere. Like, oh, yeah, Matt Holiday might take the bench coach job now, and then he obviously did take it. So, and then we know what happened. But if Yadi's hired, and also people saying Yadi's going to get hired to like, he's not going to be a Willie McGee. I just don't see that. I don't.
Yeah,
Not this
fair.
quickly after, because it took Willie McGee like 20 years to do that. Like how many years was he retired before he came back?
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah,
At least 20 years.
I don't think Yadi's coming back unless he's the bench coach. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. Okay. All right, let me talk about it. Let's talk about a few other things. We've talked a lot about what we think might happen in the offseason with the Cardinals. And obviously right now it's all just speculation. It's going to continue that way until one domino falls or two dominoes falls. But I do want to bring up something that I think we don't talk about enough. And I definitely don't see it when everybody's talking about who the Cardinals should go get. And I'd love to get your take on this because I think it's one of those valid things that I think can happen. And then I'm intrigued to see what you believe the Cardinals do if this happens. I think there is a larger percentage chance than people realize that Sonny Gray goes back, especially after his comments, goes back to Minnesota. Like I could see them re-signing him to a 2 to 3 year deal. He loves it there. His family loves it there, which, hey, I don't care what anybody says. That's a big
His family
thing.
lives in Nashville, by the way.
I know, but they love, like, evidently they're there with him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I also think unless the Phillies win the World Series, I think there's a better than average chance that Aaron Nola ends up back in Philadelphia, even though the talks
I'm the opposite.
Okay, but let me just get your take on this. Let's say those two things happen. All right, what is Cardinal Plan B then?
Tyler Glasnow should be a Cardinal then.
Actually, but don't you think that should be like Plan A anyway?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
I do. I think Tyler Glasnow, if he's available, should be a Cardinal. I don't know. I mean, those are two guys. Then you go all in on Yamamoto, and if he doesn't want to be on, if he's not dead set on being on a coast, you give him $220 million if he wants it.
What's the and then the other pitcher?
Imanaga. Yeah, it's just like I don't know what to expect from him. Like I don't think he's gonna be Masaha, even like Tanaka. I don't think he's even gonna be that level.
Well, the comp is Kodai Senga. That's what I read. That was one of the comps that I read about him. Which he had an incredible year for the Mets.
He's great. He's really good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think both of those things are going to happen.
Okay. That's fair.
I think Sonny Gray's a really. Here's my worry. My worry is the Cardinals are going to view Sonny Gray as a potential opening day starter. And I think Sonny Gray would be a really good. If you say you trade for Glasnow and you sign Sonny Gray, that's a great offseason. You really got two impact starters. Sonny Gray's a lot better in his career than I gave him credit for, I guess. Like he's had a really great career. He's like 12th in active pitchers in WAR. Like 12th. Yes. That's how good he's been. And he is 34, but it kind of seems like he's not slowing down at all right now. And if you give him 3 years and he's good for 2 and math for 1, okay, whatever. But like I think he's a really good number 2 option. But if you go into this offseason and you kind of like do the Cardinals version of middling and free agency, where you get like, okay, this is an option for our number 1. And then you have 4 number 2, 3, 4s again. That's a problem again. So it's weird. I don't know. I think if Tyler Glasnow's available, which I really hope he is, I don't know if he's going to be. You have to get him. Yeah, you have to.
Okay, here's the thing. And then let me say that if Tyler Glasnow becomes available, you're going to have 25 teams calling the
Don't
race.
care. Don't care.
What I'm telling you is you're going to care when they're going to ask us for Gorman and Nootbaar.
They won't.
Why? What
They
makes
have
you
no
think
leverage.
that?
They have no leverage to do that.
Okay,
Tyler Glasnow is not getting underpaid.
What I'm
He's
telling you
making
is we thought
$25
the
million.
same thing with Sean Murphy, and that's exactly
Sean
what they asked the
Murphy had
Cardinals
3 years
for.
of service time left and got traded
Yes,
for
and
nothing.
then I know, but they did not ask the Cardinals for nothing.
Then wait.
They asked.
Okay, but here's the thing: if you're the Cardinals, then you go sign whoever else your other plan would be. You sign him, get him here, and then you wait.
Okay, but the Cardinals have been notoriously bad at that. They are not good.
Yeah, but
players.
it's different when you need one catcher than when you need three pitchers. Like you need three pitchers, get the first two then.
Now let me go back to Aaron Nola. Because last podcast I asked you the specific question: are you concerned about the amount of innings on Aaron Nola's arm over the last couple of years? And you said no, but if he gets to the World Series, then maybe, or something to that. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
That's roughly what I said.
We do believe that they are going to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 4 more starts on Aaron Nola, like 20 to 25 innings,
maybe
potentially.
5.
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
What are you? Does that concern you, or do you believe Aaron Nola is one of those guys that's the guy we want here? Is the guy who every year can go deep into the season and be ready to go come October, and you can count on him essentially every 5th day. Like you see what I'm saying? Like there's the argument against it, but then there also has to be the counter argument for it. That's exactly what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah. And he has been that guy. So I don't think he has been the reliable guy. Does it concern me a little bit for performance? Yes. Next year. Like he just coming into this year, like he wasn't great this year. And I believe part of that might be because he went deeper than he's ever gone before in a season. There is something to that. Now, if he goes deep again this season, will he have learned something from last offseason and know better how to get ready for the season? And I don't know, maybe. But if you're the Cardinals, you have to take a risk. And if Aaron Nola is the guy you're quote unquote taking a risk for, and he, maybe he has an IL stint next year for a month because he's thrown a lot of innings, so be it. Like you got to take the risk, and if it pays off, it pays off. If it does, because if you don't take the risk, then you're just screwing yourself again. So I don't know.
One thing we've seen, and we've seen it here as Cardinal fans, especially, but we've definitely seen it across baseball, and it's become sort of one of those old, like not necessarily wives' tales, but kind of an adage or a cautionary tale, sort of, is beware signing World Series champions because the value is always you're going to overpay. You're going to overpay
only if they're breakout players in that World Series. I think.
I don't know. Dexter Fowler, man.
Yeah, but he didn't have the value until he
David
did that.
Price. Like there's guys who have signed major contracts after having good years and then also going to World Series and coming off of it.
David Price didn't win a World Series till after.
No, but it went to one with the Rays.
That was like 8 years before he signed a contract.
No, it wasn't. That was like 2006,
2010.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't sign a contract until like 2016.
The Cardinals won it in 6.
I didn't say 10. I said 10. I said 2010.
You said 6.
It wasn't 2010. Yeah, it was. They lost to the Giants, right?
2010.
I said that. That's what I said.
No, it wasn't 10. Giants beat the Rangers in 10.
So 2009 or 9. Either way, it was definitely not. He definitely was not.
We have seen guys who have been paid.
Right.
Maybe I was wrong. I thought that was when he ended up going to Boston, but evidently I was wrong.
What do you know? So, no,
I know I'm off. I was way wrong.
Way off.
But either way. Is that I mean, you're going to have to overpay probably for Aaron Nola.
You have to overpay for everyone. It's the free agent market. And it's not overpaying though. Like you're paying them their value. Their value is what the market says it is. I love that's an overpaid player. No, like the market said what he was. The market dictates what you're worth. You can't go to a restaurant and say I'm overpaying for this. Well, not really. That's what if you're willing to pay it, you're not overpaying for anything because you paid it.
Agreed.
So you're gonna have to pay a lot. That's just what it is, and it's uncomfortable for Cardinal fans, I think, because we've never done it. Like that just doesn't happen. And when you do it, it's like, $15 million a year for Fowler. That's not that bad. You can eat that and be fine. But if it's $25 million for a starter, that's a lot. That's a different ball game there. I don't think Aaron Nola is going to get that massive of a contract. I think we're talking around 150.
Here's why. This is the thing that concerns me. Again, we've talked about this before on here. You really only have a handful of top of the rotation arms that are going to be available this offseason. via free agency. I'm not talking trade, via free agency. And you're going to have 15 to 20 teams going after all of them. Now, some of them.
No, you won't.
Okay.
Well, the thing that bothers me about that is that's like,
Okay.
in theory, yeah, that makes sense. But who was the only? How many top end of the rotation arms were there last year on the market? DeGrom,
I have
Verlander, Rodon. That's it. Rodon did not get in. There was no bidding war for Rodon. He was a Yankee from the start of the offseason.
That's because that's
There
where
was
he
never
wanted
a
to
bidding
go.
war.
That's also
not even though that. Like, he did get way overpaid for what we thought he was going to get going into
Here's
the offseason.
what I'm going to say. Okay, if you look at spending, the Giants are going to spend this offseason. They've said so. They're going after a lot of guys.
They're going to try.
The Mets,
Nobody wanted
we
to
know.
go there
I know
year.
that you don't believe it, but I do believe the Mets will sign. The Yankees will go after anybody who's available because they always do. The Cubs will go after anybody who's available because they think they're that close. Don't be surprised. I'm just letting you know.
Then
the Blue Jays
them.
need the Red Sox.
The Blue Jays don't need a pitcher.
The Dodgers. I just named 9 teams who are going to also be in there with the Cardinals.
For Aaron Nola?
And there's others I didn't even name.
But I can dispute most of those for Aaron Nola. I don't think a lot of those teams are going to be in on Aaron Nola.
Arizona? You don't think they'll be in Texas?
Hell no. When was the last time Arizona signed a free agent? Zach Greinke?
But you're talking about a team. Obviously, they went through a rebuild, but they're now in the situation where they, 1, have money. 2, they're going to get playoff money, so they're making even more money. And 3, they're on the up-ins.
Up-ins, yeah, and they also have 3 good pitchers that they already like, so they're not going to spend more.
Okay.
I mean, these teams don't do this, Dad. Like, in theory, yeah, but that doesn't happen. There was not a lot of teams in the Rodon sweepstakes. There were not a lot of teams in the DeGrom sweepstakes. There were not a lot of teams in the Verlander sweepstakes. There was like 3 in each of them.
I think that we know why with Verlander and DeGrom, their contracts you're talking $40 million contracts, Caleb. None of these guys on the free agent market this year are getting $40 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But still, like, a lot of these teams you're mentioning, when was the last time they signed a big free agent? When was the last time the Cubs signed a massive free agent? Jason Hayward?
Cody Bellinger?
1-year deal.
Marcus Stroman?
Yeah. Also, by the way, he's going to be available. We keep not talking about him. He's going to opt out, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
That's an option too.
I'm intrigued to see what happens with the Padres, and I'm intrigued to see what happens with Blake Snell. I think the Cardinal fans think, there's 5 guys out there. We'll at least get 1 or 2 of them. When in reality, that's not always going. That might not be the case. And then what you're left with is now we have to start dealing guys that we don't want to deal.
It has to be the case.
That's more uncomfortable to me.
It has to be the case. Pay the money. If you
and I are in the same, Caleb.
Yeah,
you and I are in the same wavelength and the belief system there. But I don't know that our front office is, no matter what they say. I just don't know that they're going to get into a bidding war and they're comfortable with keep going until they win because that's their guy, because that's something they've never done. Right. That's all I'm saying.
They've gotten close. But yeah. Like David Price, if the Red Sox didn't offer one of the most ridiculous contracts in the history of baseball,
we would have.
Yeah.
I'm just you got to remember this is the organization who let Albert walk. That's
good move.
I mean, that's all I'm saying is that I'm it makes me nervous. I'm hopeful, cautiously pessimistic. Trying to be optimistic.
I don't know the answer here, but
no one does.
I do know that I think the amount of teams you listed is not. They're not all going to be in on.
Okay.
Most of them aren't going to be in Aaron Nola. I can guarantee you that. I just think they're not. And Aaron Nola has question marks, much like Rodon had question marks, different question marks, not injury, but they both have things. They're like, well, there is this here that could potentially, like, Aaron Nola had a pretty mediocre season this year. That is something. Even if he has a good postseason, I think people aren't just going to forget that he had an okay season.
The other team I think that will be active, even though they haven't been in the past, but there's a reason they haven't been because they were paying off terrible contracts and rebuilding. I do think the Orioles will be.
No, they're not.
Okay. All right.
Their owner came out and said that they're not going to be spending any money.
Oh, I didn't see that. So I did not.
He's basically been saying that. He's been saying, like, oh, well, baseball is not a profitable business. And no, that guy's like licking his lips that he's winning all these games because with all these young guys. And maybe he will. Maybe he'll go. I hope they do, by the way. I hope they sign somebody. But no.
And the other team I think that we're forgetting are the Phillies. Like, if Nola does leave, they will land somebody big, whether it's Blake Snell, whether it's Yamamoto.
Unless they win the World Series.
But they're not going to, They're not going to let it go. Then they didn't do that. Like, they got to the World, huh?
That's what Dave Dombrowski does. He went to the World Series. I don't know about your organization for 20 years.
When you went out and you got Trey,
you
went out and I don't see that happening. I just
They'll
don't
be
see that
involved
happening.
for sure. They'll definitely be
Um,
involved in
I just think
everything
that
that's
that's
happening.
something that nobody seems to be talking about. But in my mind, I keep thinking, well, you're not just the only one bidding
Well,
here,
I
and
think I
unless
think a
you are
lot of it.
prepared,
I think a lot of that's because it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Like I don't care how many guys with big wallets spend. You know who else has a big wallet? Build a it. So go. Guess what? Go give them. If you have to give them 15 million more of the lifetime of the contract to get them here, you have to do it. Because guess what? You did this. You
I
could have
think it,
signed Max Scherzer. You didn't.
yes, and Bryce
Here
Harper.
we are.
In the end, you and I are in total agreement with what we believe should happen. I just don't know that the people who are spending the money or making the calls are in that same agreement that you and
I
I
think
are.
they are.
Okay, I hope that'll be a first. That'll be a first in this regime. So let's hope
Yeah.
so.
I mean, it's the first in this regime where they embarrassed themselves.
True. That's valid. That's valid.
Like this is a time where you got to like, their legacies are on the line. I get they won 2011 World Series. I get it. And Bill DeWitt's done a lot of great things as the owner here. He really has. I don't think we should forget that he has 2 World Series titles. He's been to 4 World Series. He brought in McGuire. He did all these things, great things. Okay, fine. But people will remember you for the last thing you did. And if the last thing you did is completely ruin your franchise and have to trade Nolan Arenado or whatever is going to have to happen if they lose 92
and
games
not
again,
re-sign
91 games
Goldie.
again. Right. If they lose 91 games again, people are going to remember the Arenado leaving part. They're not going to remember the good stuff. So,
Like I said, I think the people watching. By the way, thank you for watching and listening. Whatever you're doing, if you could hit the subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate that. Leave comments on YouTube. We love those. Those are fantastic. I love to get those notifications and read those. We try to respond to some, but most of them we just let you guys go and let it go. But we do appreciate those. But I do think everybody's sort of on the same agreement of what should happen. I just think everybody is also again, past performance predicts future outcomes. And we have seen that. And you're right. The wrench that was thrown into the 2023 season could be the wrench that changes the entire landscape of this franchise. It's going to be. You either have to get it right or you're screwed for honestly for a while. Let me ask you a few things before we get out of here. One, Tommy Edman, a Cardinal in 2024.
yeah, I think he's a center
Okay.
fielder.
Okay. So that
Or
was
he's
going
a
to actually
or he's a Tampa Bay Ray.
that was going to lead to my next question in do you believe the Cardinals should be in the market for a center fielder in 2024?
No, don't spend $1 on the offense. Not $1.
I do
Spend
not agree
every
with you.
Why? Why? Tommy Edman was a plus defender in center field. Put him
Okay.
out there.
So here's my question then. We're talking about trading for Tyler Glasnow.
Mhm.
Who are you trading?
If you fine, then if they want Tommy Edman and that's a centerpiece of it, because your evaluation of what the Rays are going to want was so far off. They're not trading a cheap controllable starter. They're trading a starter with massive injury risk that is getting paid market value next year. So that's not like you're basically signing him to a 1-year deal, injury risk. So they're not going to be able to get that out of anybody. No one's paying that because there's a real chance that he misses half the season, like he has for a lot. So I think if you trade Tommy Edman or you trade Dylan Carlson, let's say the Rays really like one of those two, and that's just a part of whatever you trade because that's not all it would be. Then the one you don't trade is your everyday center fielder. If that means if they still believe in Dylan Carlson at all, then if Tommy Edman's traded, Dylan Carlson should play there every day for the first 3 months. Give him a chance.
Where do you play Brendan Donovan every day?
I think I DH him to start the year to help because his arm issues.
So Contreras is going to catch every day.
I mean, he hasn't been DHing much anyway. He when he doesn't catch, he doesn't really play anymore. I think a lot of that's he's rest and stuff like that. But for me, Contreras is my everyday catcher as much as a catcher can be an everyday catcher right now.
Okay. So you believe Donovan and Edman both on the team at the start of 2024. Is Nolan Gorman on this team?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear.
Donovan, I think for sure is. I don't think there's even a remote chance they trade him. Like I think he is one of the safest players in the organization. Up with Jordan.
Him and Newbar and Walker.
Yeah, those three are good. They're not getting traded. Yeah. And I don't think Gorman.
I'd like to hear Gorman on that list.
I don't think when it comes down to it, they could trade Gorman. I don't think they could do it. I don't think they could push the accept button on that trade. I don't think it could happen. Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh, no, I don't know. Now I don't know. Whatever. I don't remember. No idea.
Anything
Jordan
else
Walker's
on the Cardinals?
On that list too.
Yeah. Didn't I say Walker? I thought I said Walker, Newbar, and Donovan. Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
you know what's
Anyway,
crazy. I think all those guys are safer than Arenado. I really do. I think it would. There's a world where Arenado would get traded before any of those guys.
interesting. Interesting. Anything else on the Cardinals that you want to talk
Yeah,
about before we
I
get out
wanted
of
to
here?
talk about before we get out of here. What I think is important to note from what we've seen in the postseason so far. Because I think if you're an organization and you're not watching the postseason to see why teams are successful, you're failing because you should be looking at what other teams are doing when you're at home after a 91 loss season. Couple thoughts. One, starting pitching might be slightly overrated. If you get a lineup that can
I've been saying
bang,
this for 3 years.
you need to have it. You have to have it.
Agree.
Because that plays it.
100% agree.
Like you have to have guys that can go out there and win you a baseball game. All these teams that are left have had that. They've had Eovaldi for the Rangers. Obviously, Gallen and Kelly were great. I mean, we can keep going. Astros have the Astros stuff, and who's the other team left?
Phillies,
Wheeler, and Nola.
Yeah.
So you have to have it. But if you have a lineup that can bang, and I mean just put up crooked numbers and put pressure on the team immediately, then you are in a really good spot. That's what the Rangers have. That's what the Phillies have. That's what the Astros have. Diamondbacks have done it. I don't know how, but they have done that. So if you're the Cardinals, don't trade any of your hitters. None of them. Keep them all because if you have the 7 hitters that they're slated right now to be in your top 7 in your lineup, that can take over a series fast, really fast. And we could have some fun like the Phillies are, honestly. They could be that good. So that's one of my takeaways. My other takeaway is if your stars don't show up, you have nothing. So we've been talking about
I said that last year. If Goldie and Nolan don't show up, the Cardinals are nothing. Guess what happened?
Yeah. Arenado and Goldschmidt, like we can talk a lot about how that lineup was kind of trash in the postseason last year because of injuries. You had Dickerson and Yepez playing the outfield. It was weird. But if Arenado and Goldie have another, like say they make the postseason again next year, which they got to get to that point. Right now, they're not looking like that.
No.
But if they get to that point and they are a postseason team, and Arenado and Goldie, they have to show up. And I honestly, Goldie might not be that guy anymore. He might not be the second best hitter on the team next year. Maybe it's Arenado and it's Walker and Gorman. Maybe those are the 3. I don't care. Whoever your superstars are for the year, they have to show up or you're screwed. Like look at what Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Will Smith, all 3 missing in action. That they didn't have a chance. Not a chance. Look at the Phillies on the flip side. Harper, Trey Turner. Castellanos isn't a star necessarily, but for sure, Harper and Trey Turner have showed
up. But Castellanos is a big game player.
He is, yeah. Yeah, but he's not a star. I mean, like the star.
No, I
guys,
agree.
Like Harper
Real
and Turner.
Muto, Harper, Turner.
Right.
Schwarber.
Like, he hasn't showed up. But the other 2. Like if you look at the team, you look who are their big 2 with Harper and Turner, they're their 2 best players. They've shown up.
Yep.
And if Arenado wants to win a ring, that's been clear. He says that all the time. If you want to win a ring, you got to be a big reason why you win that ring, or else this team's not doing it.
I agree. And that's what I talked about a lot last year. Was that had to happen, and it did not. That's why I talked about a lot last year. Was that had to happen, and it didn't. I just think, and I know you said don't spend a dime on the offense. I think you have to keep all your options open. That's
it. Just depends on if you make a trade. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Like if you trade Tommy Edman and Carlson, like if that were to happen, then yeah, there's a world where you need to go get a center fielder and
Mike Trout.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. I mean, yeah, that'd be great, but that's not going
to happen. That's the guy. That's the guy.
I would say Kevin Kiermaier is slightly more
Caleb,
likely.
I'm going to be really honest and logical here because things changed because the Braves were the best team in the world this year and they're gone. All right, but even if you go sign 2 good pitchers, you're still not a top 3 team in the National League. Maybe not even top 5 team. Yes, I don't know. I don't know you're better than the Phillies. I don't know you're better than the Dodgers, and I don't know you're better than the Braves.
Now you're going to frustrate me. Before Brendan Donovan was injured on July 28th or 9th or whatever it was, before the trade deadline and they started tanking, the team was 7th in every single category in baseball. And that is playing and behind a pitching staff that was putting you down by 5 runs in the first 3 innings every fucking game. That's what that team was doing.
Okay, good. So, now you're giving me more. You're moving that pessimistic button to the left to optimism. That's good.
Yeah. Tell me, I mean, we were never anywhere close to these level of athletes, obviously. But what's the difference in going out there and having, for the first month of the season, a Steven Matz and Jake Woodford, who I think Steven Matz will be good, but he was awful to start the year. You have those 2 going out there, putting you down 5 runs in the first 3 innings, to now having Glass now and Aaron Nola, who you score 3 runs, you're probably winning.
Yeah, I agree. Those are good points. Yep. Okay. Good. Good.
And with all that, still 7th in almost every category.
One thing to give you 2 props. Let me give you 2 props here.
Okay, thanks.
One, you did not hurt yourself patting yourself on the shoulder today, and you could have, because the props go hand in hand. You were early on this year saying the Dodgers aren't all that. There was a time before the playoffs started, I thought they could get hot and go. You said no way. So you get props to you. You were on that.
Thanks.
And you didn't come on and say, if you remember right, I told you that the Dodgers, you could have. So props again for not doing that, but you could have.
I love how you're roasting me for something I didn't do.
Your shoulders are safe. I think you did a great job with that. That was good. That was good journalism right there.
Thanks. I saw David Proth and Jason Hayward in their lineup, and I said, no, maybe not.
Oh, all right.
Colton Wong was taking it best in the 9th inning for that team.
He was. Last day before we get out of here. Massive
Rangers
shout
are
out
winning, by the way.
Yes. Massive shout out to the San Francisco Giants. For the interview they did with Alyssa is it Necker or Nakar? I do not want to butcher her name. Do you know how you pronounce her last name?
I only read it. I haven't heard it.
Look, if there's an organization that's going to hire a female manager, it's the Giants. It's the Giants. Now, obviously, the Marlins have a female general manager in Kim Ng. Is it Kim? Is that how you pronounce her last name? Ng. Okay, there you go. But shout out to them. He's done a great job, by the way. Look, obviously we're going to get there's going to be plenty of people who are like, oh, you should go coach softball. What? Shut up! Like, it's a different game today. Give me your thoughts before we get out of here on the potential of there being a female major league manager in 2024.
I think it's great that they had the opportunity to do that. Like, there's WNBA coaches that are men. There's if she has the capabilities and the knowledge and everything that you need to be a manager, then great. She should be able to have that opportunity. I don't know her personally. I don't know her knowledge, but I would assume just to be a woman that is in the place to have that interview means she probably has more knowledge than most men, because she's getting an opportunity that you wouldn't expect her to be able to get.
The last 2 things I'll say is, one, from what I've read, and I've only done limited reading on this because honestly I just read about it this morning, was that the Giants organization and the players specifically in the Giants organization, mad respect for her. So that's at least that's a good starting point. Do you know what I mean?
It is.
Now I also do believe there aren't going to be players who come out and say, oh, they're not going to say that. They're not going to say the opposite, probably. 2, mad props to Greg Popovich, because he's the one who what he's done in San Antonio,
and Derek Jeter.
But Pop was ahead of the curve years ago. And, we've seen now women in the NBA become more prominent on the bench. We're seeing them become referees. Look, it's been a male-dominated sports industry forever. We're seeing more and more of capable female women. I shouldn't say females. I don't want my wife and my daughters will yell at me for that. Capable women coming into a male-dominated world and doing a great fucking kick-ass job, and I'm here for it. It's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but it's going to happen. So let's go. Baseball, let's go.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so weird that it hasn't even happened.
There's a lot of layers, like an onion.
There is. It's weird. It's because even in high school baseball, I've never seen a woman coach that. So it's so weird. They should have the opportunity to, and there should be more of them. But it's just something that I don't know. I'm interested to see. I hope she gets it. And I want to see how that goes. Honestly, I really do.
Yep, me too. I like I said, I'm intrigued to see what happens from there. Anything else you got to go before we go watch the game? We got who's playing tonight in the NFL? Buffalo and the Giants. Yeah, that's garbage.
I will not be watching. I will be watching the baseball game.
That's garbage.
I'm not even betting on that game. I stayed away. You know what? My bet, I had Amon St. Brown to get over 70 receiving yards. He did it. I had the Lions to win by 3 points. They did that because they're way better. And David Montgomery got hurt, and I need him to get 50 yards.
He did. He killed my fantasy team. Every one of my 3 fantasy teams had people get hurt on them this week.
Lost me $10. Every week.
I think I'm done with fantasy football. I really do. I think I'm done.
It's pissing me off too.
I've done it since 1993.
You're not.
I think I'm done.
No, you're not.
I think I am.
Not. Why?
It's not because in every league, almost every league, not to toot my own horn or hurt my shoulder, I draft potentially the best team in the league.
Everyone thinks that.
By week, no, I literally first week I put up the biggest points every week, and then by week 3, half my team is gone, and there's nothing I can do. I'm starting guys I've never even. You thought you were going to start Chris Hubbard. His name's Chubba Hubbard. You didn't even know. This is what I'm talking about with fantasy football. That by week 5, you're starting guys you've never heard of. You don't. That's what I'm talking about. I'm done. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. All right.
Poor Chubba.
Well,
guy gets no respect. We're gonna call him Chris from now on.
yeah. I mean, I saw C Hubbard and I took a shot.
You might even see CH. You might even see CH.
I know. I took a shot.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of here.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Intrigued to watch games. Everybody go watch them. Go Cards, but we'll talk to you soon.